Our meeting to order at 6:09. Members Jean Shinbrat, Umbris, Pulaski, Gardner, Fritchie, Norman, Powers are present. And take on our first meeting is for our finance committee meeting is the proposed budget for 2026, 3.1. 2025-346. Okay, so first up. Town clerk's office. Town clerk Marisol Melendez, please. Go page 59, folks.
59.
Count 105, 1005. Could you just give us a brief overview of the changes, Marisol?
To be honest, the only change is the $150 for operating expenses, and the rest of it is for salary.
Okay, whose salary is that?
Everyone in the town
Everybody?
clerk,
Yeah, okay.
supervisor, and the 3 assistants.
Perfect. Does anybody have any questions for our clerk? Pretty self-explanatory. Okay, seeing no questions, then I'll make a motion. Have a motion to move the number, and the number is 402,886.
Second.
Well, you're too quick on that button.
I'm right next to him. The sound gets to me first.
Okay, 402,886. Anybody in favor? Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No abstentions, passes.
That
7.
was too long. It should have been done in 30
Zero.
seconds. It was done in 45.
Okay, so we have the voter registration. It's found on page 204. Thank you, Clerk Melendez.
59.
56, I'm sorry, 56. Getting ahead of myself. Okay. We don't see a. What's Venditti, right? Yeah, Venditti is not present at the moment, so let's go over the number here. It's 288,148. So, does anyone see anything they'd like to discuss here? The increase is it's the decrease of 8.8%. So, I mean, there shouldn't be, the operating expenses are down. It's pretty much straightforward. Does anybody see anything they would like to have a question answered about? You see any questions? No questions? All right, make a motion to move $288,148. A second? Okay. Yeah, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No opposed, no abstentions. It passes 7-0. Perfect. Okay. 2 down. Debt services. Director. Gibson. Page 204.
Right,
So,
right. So for debt services, there is a decrease this year.
mhm,
Really the decrease is due to the scheduled debt payments, so principal and interest, just over time. Pay less for the interest payments. On a go-forward basis, we haven't issued any long-term debt for the last couple of years, so there's
So there's-
a decrease.
right. Just quick question. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory as far as I can see. I don't know, anyone have any questions about this or not? I have just one question.
Sure.
As we go through the debt services for the Board of Education function, now that debt goes all the way till 2042, correct? And that's for the school, is that? I'm guessing that's what it is, correct?
That is for the various long-term debt issuances.
So-
It's not just for the new
Okay, so it's the whole category up above.
Yes.
Yes, okay, great.
Yeah,
That's
this is all.
just, that was a clarification for me. I thought that's what it was, but I gotta ask a question. We have any questions?
I'll ask one.
Yep.
Is it 10 million a year still for, and for how many years is it that we're paying for the schools? Is that a different code or?
No, for the schools themselves,
Yeah, we
I mean,
bonded it, I guess.
so next year will be about 8 million.
That,
No, for the payments that we are making in fiscal
Oh,
26 for just the
okay.
schools will be about 8 million.
so how many years were we? I did
Till 2042,
40.
right there on that schedule.
Okay, 42. That's.
So Al, if you look at the categories on page 205, the top small one,
Yeah,
okay, if you look from like 2030 down, it says construction, refunding, that's pretty much what it looks like.
yeah.
The interest payments and then the payment for principal and, Yep. so that's where we stand in 2042.
So we're not planning a new set of schools yet?
I don't think so, but I don't know that for a fact.
So then no.
You're right.
I heard
You never know.
2029.
2029?
Okay, so we have no questions on this. Okay. Seeing no questions. Make a motion.
Can the audience ask a question? Or is it
No,
just
because it's a
me?
committee meeting.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. There's no questions in our committee meeting. yet. So. See no questions. The overall money that we're moving here is, it's a decrease of the budget. So. We're looking at 7,413,000. No,
Nope,
No.
you flip to page 206.
yeah, there we go. There it is. Could I have a motion to be made to move $10,051,419?
The motion.
Okay. Who's gonna?
Second the motion.
Okay.
Okay, you lost me. Where, what are we still?
206, Al.
206?
206, page 206.
For 2060, monthly code?
No, flip the page that you're on in your book,
In
yeah.
your budget book.
We gotta make a motion to approve the number from the committee. So
Yeah.
206 has the number on the bottom of the page. Look at page 206.
Okay, I got you. I'm
Okay.
Looking at the paper.
Yeah, you're just hopping ahead a little bit, okay?
Got you, thank you.
So there's a motion on the floor to move $10,051,419, because that's what this account is.
Yep.
We have a first and a second, so ask all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no abstentions, passes. Okay, now we're on to the contingency piece to it, page 210. Account number 1094. About that, we're out of practice here.
Okay, is everybody there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so slight increase in contingency this year. There had been a decrease in the past couple of fiscal years, but about $50,000 increase from the 25 budget. 4 out of the 5 union contracts that we have will be expiring June 30th, 2025. We do build an estimated increase into the fiscal 26 budget, but we have no idea, knowing what they'll really finalize for their term. So we thought it was best to maybe bump up the contingency slightly.
Yeah.
Also wanted to make a note that this year we will be utilizing this year, I mean 25, all of our contingency and then some because of the police contract that was just finalized.
Right, we have a fourth
What's
quarter
that?
transfer to do, right? Yes.
There was a significant cut in their budget last year from what they had requested, which now
Now we have the union contract and we have to give it to them because it's mandatory.
So-
So we'll have another meeting.
so increasing this to 300,000 seemed.
We'll have another committee meeting for that, for the
Mhm.
fourth quarter transfer. So.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? Do we need any more money in that? do you think?
Town manager feel comfortable with the 300,000?
Yeah, do you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay,
You said with the police contract and then some, this is a union contract that was just signed, and so the 250,000 from last year, you're saying will get used plus some?
Correct. So it wasn't just for the PD that will need fourth quarter transfers, though. There's
Okay.
other departments that might have needed some additional amounts. So, but the 250,000 in fiscal 25 will be fully used.
okay. Hey, can somebody make a motion to move the number? Yeah,
The motion.
okay. Okay, the motion is on the table, move $300,000. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No abstentions, so it passed 7-0. And you seconded it, I heard you.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how we do it. It's easier on the books.
And did you just cut paste?
Well, I don't cut and paste. I actually, I do still. I paste some of it. Okay, we're on to page 93, account 1013, finance.
93.
93.
Okay, the overall budget for finance is about 87,000. Majority of that is related to personnel costs. Majority of our team members in finance are union members, so just contract increases. There was some slight increases for operating expenses, mostly due to printing and postage for assessment and check. Also, there's some additional amounts in there for training and professional development, and also a slight increase for the audit fees for this fiscal year coming up.
Pretty self-explanatory. Anybody have any questions on our line items?
All right, is there, is there a head count associated with these funds? Or is it a bucket of money that's used for people doing different things as
Page
needed?
96.
Yes, I mean.
No, next one.
There's 19 employees that are in
Oh, okay, that's what.
finance.
Okay, thank you. Thank you much. 19, okay. And, that doesn't come like a lot of for 19, a lot of people, the amount of dollars that we spend. And so forth, so I don't have any problem. I just was curious, so. You guys are valid.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Since you have, you were mentioning operating cost and mailing the postage for the tax bills.
Mhm.
Was there, did you take into account the price increase coming on July 13th by the post office?
Our purchasing agent does get anticipated rates for us, and so we do factor that in.
Okay.
Okay, I need a motion to move the number. Oh, okay, I'm
Can
sorry.
you talk a little bit, curiosity about the interest income where it was sort of over where you expected last year, it was much higher in 2024. Like what is that? Why do you think it will be lower in 26?
We're just noticing that the rates are decreasing. With the various banks that we've been investing with, across the board, I tend to want to be really conservative when we're, budgeting for the interest income. Just because I never know what's gonna happen.
Okay.
So, we have seen a decrease in the rates.
So even where the Fed is saying they're gonna raise the.
Well,
Yeah.
these, when this was prepared,
Okay.
was, in March.
Okay,
So what they're talking about now is not part of what I would have been calculating at that time.
so do you think you may need actually less from the general fund because you'll have more interest?
Potentially,
Yeah.
we do another look at the revenues
Okay.
across the board, for financing plans. So if, we're noticing that there's, we can look at that and factor that in
Okay.
for the revenues, which would then in turn decrease what we need for taxes.
Very good question. Thank you. Okay, see no other questions. Gonna take a vote. I need someone to move the number, please. Okay, $1,877,103. A second. This is Glasser, okay. That's great. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstentions? Passes 7-0 to 0. Beautiful. We're going right to 2120. Finances on 97. Revaluation fund. Page over. All right. I guess we're gonna ask you to explain the revaluation fund, just so that the public understands what it is, okay?
I will
Thank you.
take that one.
I'm Chairman Powers. I don't know your,
Oh, sorry, this is Mary Gardner, our assessor.
I thought it was, but I don't know if everybody else knows who Mary is, so. Thank you, Mary.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. So state law requires every 5 years we conduct a revaluation. And our next revaluation is scheduled for October 1st, 2026. So our last revaluation was 2021. Process this year is 2021 reval was a full measure and list, meaning we were to look at every property. We can either do it through data mailers or physical inspections. This revaluation is just a statistical update, so we call it an income revaluation. So we are on track. We're getting ready to put out our RFP and go from there.
Okay, I just have one question for you. The things being as volatile, is there enough money in this fund, or are we gonna have to put contingency here?
I think there's enough money in there.
Okay, good answer. Go ahead.
It refers to aerial mapping. At some point, do we move to satellite mapping? Because Google Maps does this all the time. Is anyone-
Yes and no. I mean,
Yeah,
Groton is very fortunate to have an in-house GIS
yes,
program
yeah.
coordinator. We do utilize the satellite maps, but there's no guarantee that we fly them. We go through Near Map.
yes.
OPDS has contracted with them, but there's no guarantee that they're gonna fly them every year when we need them. So it's better for us to have that funding available if we need it. Because the revaluation company and I need the maps in
Yeah.
order to be,
But if they were available somewhere else, would you use them?
we would, but I'm not sure Google is an option.
No, I was just using that as an example. And
Yes, we would. If they were available, we would.
Also, I also have a question about the aerial mapping. So you're saying that you use the resources from the GIS department, they're like the human folks. So is the 100,000 just
It's the aerial,
the drones?
not drones. We don't use drones. It would be an actual flight. We contract with the company to actually fly over Groton. They have to mark the ground so they can pinpoint things on the ground, and then they'll do the flight. And we do it usually the year of the reval or the year before the reval, depending on where
it
the
just
seasons
sounds
are.
archaic.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta remember too, is there's a couple things you gotta remember. We have to do our own due diligence, because people are gonna complain and they're gonna want their properties
want it
reassessed, and then we end up
Yes.
in court and then we end up having to pay more to do it. So if we have our own system, we're not
Yes.
relying upon other people to do it because they're doing it globally. And, so at least that's my understanding of it. And correct me if I'm wrong.
I didn't hear her comment.
Her comment was, we're doing it archaically by doing aerial mapping. And what I said was that we have to consider the people that are going to appeal their reevaluation. And it could be anything from the land map to the value of their property. And if we have our own study done, we're not relying upon others because they do global mapping for those items.
Yeah, it depends on the timing of the satellite photos and when they're available. If we don't need to do the flight, we won't do it.
I wondered if anyone had set up a forward-thinking business to schedule things for different towns.
So Near Map is a company that OPDS currently uses
Yeah.
for satellite imagery, but there's no guarantee
Hmm,
when they're going to fly this area.
okay.
Right.
Not yet,
Correct. Yeah,
maybe someday.
that's right.
Well, are you saying that, all right, you talked about you're gonna have a bid for, are you gonna, your vendors is gonna come through and assess and do all the assessments as they've done in the past? But then they'll, in addition, they'll have flights that actually do that?
It's a different company that does the flights. It's
But-
not the
But they do the same
revaluation
thing?
company.
They can tell the value of a house.
We don't tell the value of a house by the aerials, but the aerials tell us a lot. Wetlands, topography,
Yeah,
how close is a house to the road? How close are they to the railroad tracks? There's a lot of data that we gather from the aerial. It's very, very standard revaluation process to have GIS maps with your project.
that's.
They go
when you say
hand
the
in hand.
thing is, it's not gonna be an airplane. And then, or a drone, why would you use an airplane? Just use a drone.
I don't think that would work.
Well, if you go
Yeah.
by and go inside the house and check everything out. No, I'm kidding. But if, when you do, when you compete for the, you're saying you're gonna do an RFP, are you talking about different vendors that will actually do the, down the ground assessments? Or are you gonna use the same vendor that you used before?
We go out to RFP with every revaluation.
Every time?
Okay.
And they have to give you, it's based on price and credibility, I guess.
Correct.
To a degree, so.
Sure.
So it's not unlikely that we might have the same people as last time, or we have a different group.
It's not unlikely that we will have the same team as last time. They've done our last 5 revaluations and they know the town very well.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Groton is a complicated town.
yes, it is.
Yes.
I'll think of something.
I know you will, Al.
Do you update the wetlands map at this time? Because presumably if I had a large property, rising oceans, and suddenly had more wetlands than before, I should see some effect on my evaluation.
That's true. And we do look at the shoreline every time we do a revaluation.
Okay.
Measure, because there's lots of times, Mystic, knowing, not so much the city, it's a different type of waterfront, but we will see knowing Mystic where there's a lot of erosion and we can't change their lot size, but we can make an accommodation for the land that's underwater. We can
Okay.
Gradient that as we
Okay.
praise the property.
Great. So we're moving this whole number this year because we have to pay for everything, is what I'm guessing. So,
It's a big
And
number.
it comes
That's why I
from
was
the funds
curious.
that are-
no, I know the money's in there, correct. I understand. But you know, when you read the book, not everybody sees the book the way we see it. Okay,
We're paying it for the record.
thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
why did it go so much?
Do you have any further questions? Okay, Emily, move the number. Do
I move, $508,400.
I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in, I'm gonna take a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So that passes 7-0-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming to help us out here.
Very.
You're welcome, Al.
Director Gardner. She's Director Gardner.
What's that mean? Your Wunderbar.
Yeah, wunderbar.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now we're going to Mumford Cove, Al, okay? That's page 189, please, in your book. Our next account is account 2060 on page 189. It's Mumford Cove Special District. Overall increase is $47.
Fire protection costs, for Mumford Cove Association, with the Knowing Fire District. The cost in this one is passed on to the residents that are in that area. So this is not a general fund budgeted fund. This is taxed to those particular taxpayers in that area.
It's like a pass. Any questions? Okay, seeing no questions, I'd like a motion to move the number.
21,409.
Okay, do I have a second?
Sure.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, we're on to Groton Sewer District on page 192. Account 4010.
The Groton Sewer District is primarily for the debt service fund payments, sewer bonds and payments, also on clean water fund, for sewer lines throughout the town. I think the question was last year, what areas this covers? It covers everything except for the city and the Navy.
Have any questions?
Oh, and there is a decrease based
Yep.
on just the scheduled debt payments in this as well.
Okay. Wonderful. You take a motion, move a number? Somebody make a motion to move the number?
I'll move 1,257,559.
Second.
Okay,
Can I ask a quick question on this? Are the rates changing this year at all?
The mill rate in the sewer district?
No, we get a bill at the beginning of the year, every year for
sewer assessment.
sewer assessment.
That would actually be a separate fund. That's
It is
not
a
part of
separate
this.
fund,
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. We'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
I,
No abstentions, no opposed. That passes. Okay. On to capital reserve contributions. Count 1075 on page 197. Okay,
Right, so 1075, this is the general fund contribution to the capital reserve fund for CIP projects. The amount that the town manager had heard the book was reduced at the town council meeting, and I don't believe we'll receive those updated changes.
yes,
So it was reduced by 1,180,000.
1,180,000.
It was reduced by that number.
Yep.
The new number is 2,320,000.
Okay,
The reason for that was the decision was made to change the funding source. So instead of having the general fund put money into the CIP, they were utilizing more of the CIP fund balance and then also a little bit more of the golf course fund balance because their fund balance has been increasing. So for particular projects. So, so it just saved the general fund from having to contribute more to the capital project.
okay. Do we have any other questions? Emily, Representative Norman, I can see that you want to ask a question, so. Okay, well
Do
made.
you want to look to see where this goes?
No. But if we do, even though we move a number, depending on what happens in RTM, this.
If in RTM changes to CIPs.
Yes, this number will
then
change.
it's sufficient. As well as the next
Two categories.
two categories.
That's what I thought.
That's my best of my memory yet. Yes, right. We do these on the end, I thought, but it's okay. We'll have to do them again. So, we have another meeting. But it won't be before that. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
Seeing none, I'm asking someone to move, the number is $2,320,000.
second,
Okay,
So the page where that'll show up, if it was corrected, is what page? Are you talking about
It would-
198 and 199?
Yes,
Okay, and that number instead of 35 is gonna be
2,320,000.
300,000.
320,000.
Okay.
And that includes-
We're just moving some money around, that's all. we're doing.
Yep, it was utilizing the whole project instead of having it contribute.
I didn't even know where you were. Yeah.
You did that all the time.
Leanne, I need you to mute your Zoom link, please.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. That's okay. Tell Coco we said hi.
Thank you.
Okay,
Oh,
okay, we're gonna take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, any opposed? Any abstentions?
Nay.
Okay. Oh, we're going right through this. It's very good. Okay, next account up is 5010. It's found on page 200. Right in order.
So this is capital reserve fund.
Yep.
This is where all of the approved CIPs are housed. As I mentioned, there was a reduction in the general fund contribution here. But the number you see in your book in the manager's column, that was also reduced for the overall CIP project by a small amount. There was 2 small CIPs that they determined were not needed. One was for the Spicer House boathouse for 30,000. Another was for the economic assistance fund for 50,000. So it reduced the number in the town manager's column by $80,000. So the new number is 7,333,000.
So it was the Spicer Fund and what was the other one?
Yep, it was, so if you want.
No, just give me I'll look after.
Okay, number referencing is 6I for the Spicer House boathouse for 30,000 was removed.
Yeah.
And then 8A for the economic assistance fund for 50,000 was removed.
And what was the number again? Fine.
6I and 8A. Oh, you mean the total number for what? 7,000,000?
Yeah.
333,000.
Okay. Well, that's compared to 7,413 that was on the other paper.
Yes,
And the economic impact was how much?
50,000.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, we gotta move the number. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself here. Can I have somebody move the number, please? Someone. Anyone.
I'd like to move 7,333,000.
Second.
Ah, Umbrus. All right, Umbrus. Thank you.
How you have to spell it.
I'm not spelling it now. I have a chart to spell his name. Okay. Okay, seeing no other questions. Call for vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? No opposed. 7-0. Okay. Wow, we're just almost to the end, folks. Count number 1073 found on page 168. Contributions to other funds.
So as mentioned, this fund is for contributions to other funds, but depending on how full RTM votes, there may be changes. to
Right.
This, so right now, the overall number is what is in your book, 1,271,330. That's for contributions to the Human Services Assistance Fund, the revaluation fund, like we just talked about. This is general fund money into that separate fund. Light remediation, computer replacement, and also the fleet fund for vehicle maintenance or fuel and actual fuel.
I just have one question.
Sure.
The Board of Ed non-lapsing fund. Can you explain that to us? I have it highlighted here for a reason, I guess.
Yes, so I did spike that out too on page 168 under cost center 10.
Yep.
Just to give a little bit of an explanation there. So the recent Connecticut state statute states that after the annual audit has been finalized, if the Board of Ed's general fund budget line has any remaining funds, they can opt to have that transferred to a non-lapsing fund. And we really have no control over whether they choose.
Explain a non-lapsing fund to us.
Non-lapsing fund is where it's, basically it's saying any of their remaining funds in their budget line from a particular fiscal year.
Mhm.
If it's unspent, it can be transferred to another fund and housed, and they can utilize that for any type of educational expenses that they have.
Okay, so this year they had 427,000
They did
in excess.
for fiscal 24.
Okay,
So there's kind of a delay. We have to wait until the audit has been finalized for that particular fiscal year before the transfer can be made. Because we need to make sure that the auditors are comfortable with the numbers. And then any remaining balance, if the Board of Ed opts to have that transferred, we can.
transferred back to the town or to
It-
them?
It doesn't,
Who's holding the funds is what I'm asking.
I guess cash wise, I have.
Okay, so the town is.
Town is holding the funds. It's in a completely separate, non-budgeted fund, so it's not
Yeah.
part of this book at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
And if there's expenses that need to be coded to that, they send over transmittals and it gets coded to that and funded by, our accounting department.
So that there's track of it. We're keeping track of it.
Yep.
Okay, that was my big.
This particular non-lapsing fund,
Yes,
it will, if they don't utilize all of this, it'll just kind of continue to grow for whatever purposes that they need.
so
It
it
doesn't-
stays in the town's hands.
It does.
It can draw interest or be added to, but we don't withdraw from it unless they need something from it.
Correct.
And it can be used in 2025's budget or no?
Yes,
Okay,
And it can only be used for Board of Ed though, correct?
correct.
That's basically the rainy day fund.
Well,
we're not gonna say rainy day because the
I
day
mean,
may come.
they've chosen to use it for certain purposes. Last year, there was the topic of the school nurses,
Right,
where they were contracted previously with VNA, and then that contract had ended, so then they were having to employ
the nurses,
as-
yeah.
as
As-
a school employee,
Yep.
so that was something that they were anticipating having to use some of those funds for in this fiscal year.
Okay.
So are they planning, we don't know until we go through their budget, whether they're taking this lapsing fund money to utilize for that.
Oh, well, in fiscal 25, I know that they are, because they've sent over transmittals.
Okay, so this
They have
fund is
started-
actually gonna be depleted is what I'm, for some need that they
Yeah.
have. We can't tell them what it has to go to. I
Correct.
get that. Okay, so
Correct.
that number will go towards 2025. That's good. Thank you.
Do we have a fund like that with the, we usually have something in there that they've not used?
This
We don't do the
change to
audit.
this Connecticut state statute is new. There was the option previously, but the town had more control over that, where this is really now, if they have any remaining funds, the Board of Ed can have it.
Okay.
So, in other words, the only way we would really see this is through an audit? Is that how we know that that money is there? If it's a non-lapsing fund and we can't see where it is, I think is what I'm trying to figure out here is if we don't see it unless there's an audit. Is that correct or no? Or is there always a non-lapsing fund?
Had, in the past, that's always. been-
Yeah.
No, this is brand
This
new.
is the first time.
This is the first time the non-lapsing fund was created in fiscal 25.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
All right?
Yes, I'm fine.
Okay, we'll wait till you come back. Gonna hang on till he catches his breath there, okay? Well, we can't take a vote without him, okay? Not gonna.
I have more questions. You want me to?
Yeah, I do. I want more questions.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. Can you talk to me about the existing balances of some of these things, like the replacement fund or the fleet fund? Like, are there carryover balances or were they fully depleted in this?
There are carryover balances, but they are going to be in other funds, well, okay, so I mean, reval funds. We just talked about that.
Right,
We talked about it, I saw that.
Yep, so I don't know if I have the fund balance. Oh, well, here, okay. That's
You're telling me I can solve this,
maybe. Possibly, so I'm gonna tell you that. It should be fund balance projections. Okay, so page 49 is estimated changes in fund balance.
Where are we at?
Page 41.
Okay,
She was asking if there's a way to see what the cumulative fund balance.
Yeah,
Funds are. So, so is there one in particular from the 1073? that you were thinking?
No, it was curiosity on like where we're contributing into them. Do they hold a bunch?
Okay, so for example, reval fund, so see here on page 168, it's
Yeah.
on 212, so it should have been 212, so this is the original fund balance, the estimated fund balance.
And so these are the transfers in proposed for the year.
Correct,
Got it.
transfers in, expenses out, yeah.
And so this is where that we expect the fund balance to
Correct.
be at
Yep.
the end.
Speaking of which, they started off with the initial payment of 5 million out of the funds, the regular funds, I guess, to balance the budget for the.
yeah, the taxes is
Yeah.
what he's talking about. The fund balance use of 5 million last year, right? Yes.
And that actually left a bigger number. But I had read a number of somewhere in the high 20s is where our, what do they call this fund? That it's the,
Capital Reserve Fund
the reserve fund.
for bonding, is that what you're talking about?
No, it's just that we have to maintain, what is it,
15%.
15 or so percent of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
total budget as a
Mhm.
fund, and
Yeah.
if we get close to it, we're in trouble. We gotta maintain that. And somehow I had a number of 28 million. That was where we are at right now, and they changed it to 2 million that they're taking out of it instead of 5. And I'm not entirely clear why they did that, other than they must have had a reason where we were getting close, or something like that, not as big a margin as we would like. Some kind of a reason was, do you have any of that?
I'm not sure on the town manager's decision on.
The change,
potentially
yeah,
Changing.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so,
They did it, the board had a last meeting with last week, and they finalized all of the, numbers for a sort of, they made adjustments here and there.
we haven't brought the mill rate, calculation with that, proposed fund balance usage to the town council yet for approval, so I think there might have been
Right,
discussions about
right, they're, right,
it, because the town manager's initial proposal was for 5 million.
right. That's what's in the book outlets.
Initially, that was the
Right.
budget number, and they changed it, and they're at 2 million, and we do have a new.
They haven't changed it. That's the thing. You're assuming that they have, and they haven't
A
done
big
that yet.
part of that too is, the estimates we have for revenues in the budget account for grant money, federal monies, which now with everything going on, there might have been more, being conservative on, not knowing if.
If the money was gonna be there,
coming in
right.
Or not for the Board of Ed side, so.
Yeah, I just was trying to check, and is this number, is there a number here that reflects what our current sort of that fund, budget fund, or those funds
Mhm.
that we have to look into because it's required by law to maintain a certain amount. And I'm trying to find, it's for my own education.
Mhm.
Where we see that number in here.
So this proposed budget, we really do put these numbers together at the beginning of March.
Yes, you did.
So a lot of things do change, even with the funding sources between now and the final budget is is done, or there could be, fund balance usage or, the Board of Ed non-lapsing fund, for example.
Correct.
Supplemental appropriation that we don't know exactly what it's going to be and the Board of Ed's gonna utilize it until.
They tell you they're gonna, they gotta
So-
put the, yeah, they gotta put the form in to
When
get the
these
money.
estimates are put into this book, we have to get
Yeah.
it done by a certain date so that it can get to the printer or whatever. So there are changes that happen. So
Yeah.
even though this says the 34 million, there's other factors that are.
What
probably
page
in
is that
play
on,
between now.
please?
49.
Okay.
So this number is the number they're talking about. So there's 34,956 right now is what the general fund is got in there. And that matches the needs of having a minimum.
We have 21.43% at that number, Al. That's what we have.
Yeah,
Okay, so whatever if it's between 15 and 20, we're in good range for bonding and everything like that. So that's, I mean, I think that's what we're getting.
Yes.
Right.
I just don't know why they made the change, and there was some reason why they took out 3 in the second go around, completed last, what was it? I don't know, it's on video, where they changed it from 5 to 2. And I asked John about it, and there's something tricky about it that they're doing, but.
Well, they don't know the funding that's gonna come in, Al. The biggest budget we have is the department, the education department. We don't know what the federal government's gonna do with education. We don't know where we are with.
Right, there is.
Okay, so that's why there's a decrease from 5 to 2, so that we're more conservative to keep that balance higher.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure that's what it is. I can't say positive, we're not doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Just didn't know I wanted to know what the source, now I know what it is. And I can see it, and I don't like the idea, because we used 5 million in previous years.
Right.
And I don't want to keep it down. I like having that.
That's just where we gotta be.
I like having
No,
extra
it's,
money in there.
and I think,
Just in case.
yeah, I think that's what we're
Especially
doing.
Well, in prior years, we have been fortunate to have higher than budgeted, interest income and also, tax collections that have come in.
Right, we have
Our
new,
tax department diligently to make sure that we're collecting current taxes, back taxes, setting out everything.
plus our community's growing, and that's the other thing that we have to remember. I mean, we have a community that grows, so we generate more tax revenue from the growth. Okay, so the numbers change pretty drastically, rapidly sometimes. I think, and this is just me speaking. I don't have that for a fact or anything else, but I definitely, I agree with what you're saying, that the more we can use, the less impact it has on everyday residents. I think that the conservative approach is to keep that number higher in case we do need other things. And my understanding of this is that when it comes to bonding, that number has to be right, or we get higher rates of interest.
Yeah,
And that costs us way more in the long run.
it's mandatory. We do a good job. And I just wondered if there was some tricky reason why they went down with it, but I think it was probably just protecting it, not.
Yeah, the
not
fund,
any
sure.
other
Yeah.
Particular thing that I have heard of, including John.
It was a great question.
What's that?
It was a great question. Representative Norman.
Here's my question, and you might tell me if you think anything about that. But when I look at, because part of what I wanted to see was how much we're contributing to these funds, basically the fund balance as a percent of expenditures. I see that tech replacement basically has a 3-year runway with their current fund balance as it is. Can we also, is there something we can do here or otherwise to zero out that tech replacement fund for this year and have them pull from their existing balance rather than us contribute again when they can afford the 3 years worth of tech replacement costs sitting in that account right now.
So when it comes to the tax replacement fund, I
don't want to zero out them using the money. I just want them to use their fund.
correct. No, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, but I really depend on the IT department and the director to know what their needs are for that. So I wouldn't feel comfortable.
We have a new one that just came in from the retirement, and one of,
I know, you told me I asked too many questions.
No, you don't ask too many questions. You ask intelligent questions like hopefully we all do, but
Yeah.
yours, you can talk this language better than anybody at this table.
Absolutely, but
Yeah.
to tell you, yes, go ahead and,
I don't want to zero out the budget. I just want to,
zero out the contribution.
I wanna zero out the
But
contribution
I
and
don't want
the
to,
balance.
I don't know if I necessarily feel comfortable, saying, yes, that's
A good idea,
idea,
right?
because I don't know what the exact needs are planned from.
but you're saying if they go over budget,
Mhm.
well, couldn't they then ask for a fourth quarter or something else if they're going over budget? Why?
The only fund we do a fourth quarter transfer is Fund 100. general
Got it.
fund. All these other non-budget, other funds that are in the budget, there is not a requirement in the charter for the approval. of a
Right,
fourth
so,
quarter transfer.
so the new person could decide
Mhm.
to spend 3 times the amount that was originally budgeted by the last person, and they would still have enough in that budget. And if they wanted to spend 4 times that amount, they might have to come back to us and ask for a fourth quarter transfer to get that extra 100K. But I'm saying, why send them 100K
Mhm.
in case they want to spend 4x what they were gonna spend? And, because as long as they spend less than 3x, they're fine.
And I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my question. Now that you brought this question.
Sorry.
It's okay. No, it's good. It's fine. So we don't release funds until they use the funds. Is that correct? Or do we just give that budget item to the,
At the beginning of the fiscal year,
Yeah.
where we've got these budgeted items to be contributed to other
Yeah.
funds, we move those funds over
They're
to
gonna
those
move
other
that
funds.
fund.
so they earmarked directly for that
Yeah, I'm
technology?
saying pay-
So once it's released, it doesn't come back unless it's not used. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
But
Everybody understand that?
For future, budgets, the fund balance is identified. So I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
I'm
And
just-
maybe that's a consideration for the new director, because we have gone through multiple recently.
IT
that
directors?
Going
Yeah.
forward, she would be able to, identify if more fund balance could be utilized.
On the fleet vehicles item, said they removed 2 vehicles. Does that mean that they now have a net smaller number of vehicles, or they aren't buying 2 new vehicles that they would have bought otherwise?
Zero.
They reduced
Yeah.
the number of vehicles that were being purchased.
Okay.
Well, what it says is the department requested up 835,140 for vehicle contributions, which was reduced to 210,140 by the town manager with the decision to remove 2 vehicles.
Yes.
So how were they removed? Were they
So they're.
not bought, or did they send them to the dump, or what?
No, so, the, Public Works Director, works with his team and compiles a list, every year for vehicle replacement, which is on page 127. And they identify
The oldest
the
vehicle.
usage of the, the age of the vehicle, and they.
Condition, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they try to make decisions on what is the most needed, like the police vehicle or the asphalt recycler. So the vehicles that originally the Public Works Director had identified as being to be replaced, 2 of them had been removed from that list back into the, you're still on the list, but not for this fiscal year.
Oh.
And then the decision to utilize more of the fleet fund balance
Yeah,
was made. So instead of contributing more from general fund, they're just going to use some of the fleet fund balance of $130,000.
That's
That
what it
answer your
says.
question?
You get what I mean? They're just using this from the
Yeah.
fund balance.
no, I understand about the fleet fund balance. I was just wondering whether they were not replacing 2 old ones, or if they were actually retiring service because they don't need them.
No, they're just not replacing old
Yes,
ones.
that was the point, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it means when they say removed. It can mean any number of things.
So it's, if the Public Works Director asks for 10 vehicles in his original
Yeah.
request, but the town manager says, I think we should move forward with 8.
Yes,
and the other ones on the list for future.
right, so he's just not going to replace the two,
Right, there's two.
most dubious.
Whatever the.
Yeah.
Together.
Perfect. Do we have any other questions? Boy, we got our money's worth out of that guy. didn't we?
Well, I would ask you a question. How long do you expect our current vehicles to last for, whether it's parked for public works or whether it's a police car?
I think it depends on the particular vehicles. I know. You know, they have undercover vehicles for the police that are outfitted differently than the patrol cars, the cruisers.
they're-
So
yeah.
they have different demands
Yeah.
for different vehicles, so it varies.
We're not buying the truck for 250,000.
Yeah, I noticed that's not in here.
Okay, it's not in there.
No, I'm
Just
just
that's-
curious.
You know, the command center truck
Yeah, I
that they
was-
need.
I wanted to make sure we weren't buying that.
Well,
That
Like
was
anything.
Originally, I think funded, or it was going to.
partially funded, we
Yeah.
funded half of it and then they took the money back and put it into the fleet farm reserve. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know.
Yes,
That's where.
what happened last year.
That's what it,
Next purchases money haven't.
yeah, and it's no longer
Half of it while they assemble.
250,000, it's 350,000.
That is a possibility.
So it's just
Well, you
kicked
would,
down the road.
you shouldn't buy it because it doesn't fit down most of the streets where you'd actually have.
You don't know that
A
until
lot
you
of it
see
is
the vehicle that
considering
they're
the
buying.
cost of the maintenance as they get older.
Yeah, that's
Versus the cost of purchasing a
replacement.
new vehicle.
Mhm.
They're getting better. They're, you know, 10, 12 years out of a car is not. Like growing up, 5 years, 3 years, you know,
Mhm.
it didn't last, but now they are lasting quite a long time.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Seeing none, I need someone to move this number, please. Okay, we moved $1,271,330. Is that correct, Director Morrison?
1,271,330, yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Do I need a second? We'll ask.
Sure. I'll do it.
Don't want to do next week's right now?
No, we can't. We don't have the people here. We're gonna take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions, no one opposed. Okay, folks, thank you for your time and your energy here. Appreciate Director Morrison coming and we'll be back a week from now to finish our accounts. Thank you, Representative Overy, for attending. Good night, everyone. Night.
Good night. Probably.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry.
Did she come? Good question.
Who's doing?